Hi, welcome back to the podcast. This is Elle.
And this is Heather.
And we are here to talk to you today about how do houses get haunted and how does negative energy get stuck in a house.
Yeah, so if you're first time listeners, it's probably a good thing because we are really new at this podcast thing. And we are longtime mediums and energy healers.
We're also spiritual healers and psychics. And the information we're presenting to you today is by no means all of the information available on the subject. So, like everything, please pray, meditate, research, do whatever it is you need to do to make your own spiritual inquiry all that much better and juicier. And this is what we have to offer on the subject.
Good idea. What is a haunted house, Elle?
Ooh, you passed it to me. That's why I asked you the question so that you could answer. Oh, goodness. I think that a haunted house is really all you need the person to say is that it's a haunted house. I think it can be everything from, or the houses I've worked on have been everything from just you walk in and you feel, like negative energy, like you're all happy, having a great day. You walk in your house and you're just like, ugh. And maybe there's no ghosts. Maybe you don't see anything out of the corner of your eye. Maybe it's just really negative. I think that's on one end of the spectrum. I think on the other end of the spectrum is probably something like you would see on horror movies. I've met people who have had things fly at them out of their bathroom mirror. Like their bathroom mirror will open itself up and throw things at them. I would say that that's probably the definition of haunted, because you didn't touch things and they're throwing things at you. I think right in the middle there, at least some cases that both you Heather, in your practice and me in my practice have encountered is just a lot of sleep paralysis. You wake up and you think something's sleeping on your bed or sitting on your bed or sitting on your chest, which is even scarier. Or it could even be bad dreams. What do you think? Is that a good definition? What do you think, Heather?
Yeah, I think that's a good definition. There's a lot of ways that an area can be haunted, and bad dreams is a big sign of them. But of course, there's always people who end up just having bad dreams.
Right. There's lots of reasons for having bad dreams. I'm not going to say that ghosts are the only reason.
Yeah.
If ghosts were the only reason people had bad dreams, that would be so easy to take care of. But we're talking about how houses get haunted. So I think bad dreams is a good place to start. So do you want to, so you put me on the spot. Heather, I'm going to put you on the spot. So talk about negative energy, people shedding energy and that affecting houses, making them haunted.
Okay, so the first thing to begin is we are all made out of energy, and our bodies are wonderful energy making machines, and our emotions kind of power what kind of energy comes out.
Well, and our nerves conduct energy and electricity.
Yeah.
And our emotions are very strong. You can see them, studies have shown that you can put those machines like EEG machines on people's head and you get readouts. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, so you kind of, well, you're not just you, but everyone kind of throws off energy, and it tends to stick to things.
So can I tell you a story about that? This digresses, but it just popped in my head.
Okay.
So I was reading some books because this was actually in an anthropology class that I was taking, and a friend of mine was a potter. And they were saying that you can, and my friend who was the potter was throwing things on the pottery wheel and making vases and things like that. But she took a cactus needle and she spun it around and around and around on the pottery wheel, because that's what happens as the clay spins around. And they were actually able to record the sounds that were going on in the room in the pottery of the piece of clay that they were making in the vase. And then I thought that was pretty impossible. How could that be? But then someone said that's actually how records are made. So all of the sound vibration, all the energy vibration that comes out of our mouths can be recorded. So this took it a step further. They actually found that those same kind of recordings were in broken glass, like when I guess it was like a fire, it superheated the glass, and there was an imprint of the sound in the fractures of the glass. So what you're saying is that we all emit energy, and that can be soaked up by the house. Is that what the room that you're in?
Yes, that can happen. It can be the room. It can be yourself even. We are kind of like sponges a lot of times, unless we protect ourselves.
So you mean like going into like a funeral, and maybe you didn't know the person that well, but suddenly you're crying with everybody else?
Mm-hmm.
Or a wedding, and everyone's so happy, or everybody's crying, and you just kind of pick up on that.
Yeah, and you go into a large crowd and you can just feel their excitement, and it makes you want to be excited too. And
so you're saying that all of that energy that people can pick up on, you can leave residue, that energy residue, behind in a house.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and if it's a big enough emotion, you can leave a very large imprint of energy residue in the house.
So how does that energy make the house be haunted?
That piece remains in that house. So especially if there was a trauma or something, there's a little piece of that person still stuck in that trauma, just wandering around, stuck in that house.
So that reminds me of something else that I read. They said that a guy went to this place in, I guess, Tibet, but I'm not certain that it was Tibet. And he learned about thought forms, and he decided to create a thought form. And all a thought form was that he put a lot of his focus and energy into imagining that a person was real. And then the person became, eventually by the end of this trip, he imagined them as like a fat friar. And so he even got a donkey for this fat friar to sit on. And then eventually he said the thought form got out of his control, and other people were able to see it with their own eyes, and the thought form developed a sneer, and it took all of the Buddhist monks to banish it.
Oh.
And then and I'm sure there's a lot more information out there, so make sure and do your own research. But then there was another study done to see if you could, like they were trying to do, like in this seance, like they had a medium there, and they decided they wanted to trick the medium. And so they created this thought form, all of this group who were going to participate minus the medium, that they created this person, and they named the person, and they gave the person a background, and I don't remember how they managed to bring this, but it had to do with the group, and they did it over several days. And then the medium came, and then the medium actually was talking to this thought form. And what I remember from that is that thought form also got out of control, and the house ended up being haunted. So if you want your house to be haunted, I guess making a thought form would be a way to go, but they all ended up badly. So maybe that's a terrible idea.
That kind of reminds me of the whole Slender Man legend. Like, people are now seeing Slender Man when really at the beginning it was a contest to see who could make the scariest story.
Do you think that Slender Man actually became real, or real ghosts thought, ooh, Slender Man, that would be funny to pretend to be him. Let's go scare people.
Oh, that'd be an interesting thing to find out, because people are seeing this creature now, and they've taken pictures of it, and people have had stories of it, and that's one of those. Was he always there and they're just talking about him now, or was he created because of this scary story and now it's given it enough energy to manifest?
Ooh, that's really spooky. I don't like that at all. That's really scary. So people out there who are listening, if you have a story, why don't you share? And what are your thoughts on Slenderman versus being a thought form, versus not being real at all, versus being a scary shadow monster that decided to pretend to be Slenderman because it would be funny?
This makes it much easier to scare people, I guess.
That's true. I guess if
I've yet to run into him.
well, I hope you don't, and I hope I don't. I hope none of us do.
Yeah, that would be bad.
Well, if we do, I guess we can offer it Reiki energy, and then maybe it'll make it be better.
Yeah, I think that's the best way to go because I'm not fist fighting it, that's for sure.
I might not be that excited to go see. I might run in. My instinct would be to run and hide.
Yeah.
Pull the blankets over my head. It's not real. It's not real. It's not real.
That used to be my instinct when I started doing Reiki. Everything now is Reiki. Everything is here. Would you like some Reiki? Come here, ghost. Let me Reiki you.
Oh, that reminds me of a story of the most recent haunting that I worked on. But before we go there, so we're still talking. We're getting off topic. We're still talking about psychic residue, energy residue from people. So I guess that's a really good way, a good example of how houses can be haunted, is that you have residue and that either draws things in to eat it or it creates an environment where you feel scared, or it can make an actual thought form that acts like a ghost. That's
and then there's the traumatic events or the actual people dying in a place that is different but also causes hauntings.
That's true. When you were saying traumatic events, I think that very chaotic energy, some of the places I have worked on have been because someone was either a paranoid schizophrenic who refused medication, or the family didn't believe it was that the person actually needed medication, or maybe just a lot of anger and hostility between two people in the family, compacted by either traumatic situations like you were saying, or mental health, or all of the above, because they seem to feed each other.
Yes, I've noticed that too. It's hard to separate which came first.
Yeah.
I've worked on schizophrenics and the negative energy just keeps coming.
Well, I wonder and that's where you need a spiritual healer, because mental health is good and very important, and I will never say that spiritual healing will take the place of mental health, because I think that there are definitely mental health things that need to happen, like learning how to set appropriate boundaries, maybe, learning how to have good self-esteem, but that's not enough. You need the spiritual healing as well, and whatever that means, whether that means your heart gets fixed or you physically clean the environment, I think you really need both.
A lot of times talking about the problems help a lot, but there's people who need more help, and that's fine.
Well, but don't you find that talking about the ghosts brings the ghosts? They're like, ooh, you're talking about me. What are you saying? Let me listen in. And then they come into the room and want to hear what's going on.
Yeah, well, I'm not saying just talking about ghosts, but if you're schizophrenic, you probably have other things you need to talk about.
Oh, absolutely. If you're just a normal person, you have lots of things you need to talk about.
Yeah.
So mental health is good for everybody. Yay, mental health.
Yes, we are all about the mental health. Make sure to get as much self-help and all the kinds of help you need. Body work, energy healing, massage, mental help.
Diet, nutrition.
Yes, diet and nutrition, life coaching.
Yeah, so I guess that is the point, is that if you would like to have a very non-haunted house with good energy, you need to take steps to clean the energy, and you need to take steps to help yourself with whatever you need so that you can be the best, most self-fulfilled person that you can be. And then negative things don't tend to attach to really good, positive, upbeat people who have everything in place. And someday, I am sure we will all be there. That's something to aspire for, too.
It's just a constant work.
It's constant work.
And you're never going to just be like, oh, I'm perfect. I don't need any work at all, because everyone needs work.
Everyone needs work, no matter where you are. So we've talked about haunting coming from energy, like residual energy. We've talked about haunting coming from people dying in the house, and usually those kind of spirits, they are there because they can't leave. They might. There's so much talk about different kind of ghosts. I'm not really interested in talking about the different kind of ghosts, because what I've learned is if you um, this is what I have learned in my vast background. Maybe I shouldn't say that because then I sound old. I'm not really that old. I just have a teenager. That makes me feel old sometimes. But what I found is that you can categorize and say, oh, there's this kind of a ghost, there's that kind of a ghost, and there's a third kind. There's only 3 kinds. And then you get out in the field and it turns out that's not actually true. There's as many different kinds of ghosts as there are kinds of rocks, kinds of sand.
Probably.
Kinds of pretty art.
Yeah, you try to categorize things, but I'm always finding something different. And I'm like, well, what are you? And then it's like, oh, I am this, I'm an elemental, and I was corrupted, or I'm this person that I really liked eating other ghosts, and now I've got layers of them all over me. Because it's fun to walk around and scare people like that.
I've seen the ones where I'm really mean and scary. I'm this kind of a ghost, and then you heal them, and it turns out, no, they weren't. They were just a person, and that was their defense mechanisms.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know that though that is helpful, but I think that there are ghosts that are stuck because of location. They're like location specific, and then there's non-location specific ghosts.
Yeah, I've noticed that areas with large amounts of power going through them, whether rivers or electrical lines, tend to have things get stuck there.
People who have their technology on all the time and watch a lot of negative TV, like, not that there's anything wrong with crime shows or horror shows or anything like that, but if that's all the energy that you're putting into your house through your TV, I think TVs, and this is me personally, this might sound like crazy talk, but I think TVs and I think like computers, whatever you spend a lot of time fixated on negative stuff, I think those can bring in negative entities.
Yeah. Here's a question, well, something that was brought to me that is an interesting topic. I had a client that came to me saying that she had just watched The Nun, and now she was obsessed with it and all its facts and things like that, and she couldn't stop being obsessed over this movie, The Nun. I haven't actually seen it yet, but researching it, it's a scary movie about a demon that helps to haunt a doll. I don't think it's actually true, but people are getting really scared about it.
Well, I mean, that hits all of our favorite triggers, right? Nuns are scary, yet they're also like the definition of good religion, quote unquote, because you can't be more religious than a nun, a Catholic nun. Then the second thing is dolls. Everybody is creeped out by dolls. Well, not everybody, but I mean, dolls can be creepy.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's true that some dolls were originally created to house ghosts. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of dolls are just created so that big companies can make money, but off of the latest movie that came out. So that would be scary, a nun doll collection. But that would be terrifying. So the question is that a mental health thing? If it's an unnatural thing, did you try Reiki on it? On your client?
Yeah, she gets regular Reiki. She was just worried about that because she wanted to know why she was so obsessed with it. My ultimate answer was to continue to get Reiki, but also laughter really is the best medicine. They teach us that in Reiki, that you need to laugh every day. Laughter helps us take our minds off the evil things and dark negative energy, and helps us bring up our own energy and make it more positive.
That's true, because the other way you get ghosts is like through people coming through. So just whether it's like a ghost connected or attached to a person that catches a ride as you go, and then they just stop, let's say at a shopping mall, because you have all those people coming in, and you could have ghosts there simply because they are attached to the people. But just like people tend to travel in crowds and like to travel in groups, I honestly believe that when you have groups of people coming in and out of a place, that ghosts just kind of tag along, because a lot of people are going there. It must be good. So why not tag along? So I've been in places where the ghosts are there simply because, or entities, I shouldn't say. I'm using the word ghost, entity, creature, all of that interchangeably. Um, if you have an opinion on what the proper terminology is, please make a comment, and I'm sure that that will prompt a really good discussion. But for now, I'm going to use the term interchangeably just because it's easy. And so what I see is that you get location-specific ghosts, which are fairly easy to release. You just have them attached to you. You walk over the threshold and poof, they're gone. You have ghosts that are not location-specific, and sometimes they just need healing to move on, but that's how they get there, is through either being attached and then unattaching themselves and saying, ooh, look, this is a cool place, or just traveling there because they're just traveling, looking around, hanging out, and there's something about the space that the house is in that caused it to be there, whether it's energy lines or maybe there's lots of delicious arguments going on, and so that's like free food for them, or
sensitives in the home. We are bright lights to them, so they tend to group around us.
That's true. So if you can think of other ways that houses get haunted, please put it in the comments and maybe we can talk about it another time. Thanks for listening.
Yeah. We'll see you next time.
Are we ready to do the oracle reading for today?
Oh, yes. Let's get that done.
So I think you should talk about these cards that you got because the artwork is absolutely phenomenal.
Yes, we are working with a Mystical Shaman Oracle cards. They're illustrated by Jenna Della Grottagila. Am I saying that right?
I think that you did a great job and I'm not going to attempt it.
We'll put it down in the description. It is also written by Alberto Villodol and Colette Barron Reed and Marcela Lobos. So we are going to do just a one card pull for asking what does this podcast need to know, or the people listening in this podcast need to know for today.
So while she's shuffling the cards, please go ahead and put your reactions to the oracle card draw in the comments below if you are interested. We would love to hear what you have to say. So while she finishes shuffling, I'm just going to describe how she is doing that. These are brand new cards, and she Reiki'd them and saged them.
I saged them first.
She saged them first, then Reiki'd them. My apologies.
And do you want to explain why I did the sage first and the Reiki after, or do you want me to?
Well, you're still shuffling. So this is why I would have saged them first, then Reiki'd them. The reason being is the sage weakens in any negativity. Sage doesn't clean the way you think that like soap and water cleans. It weakens all of the negative, the attachments. And then by Reikiing them, she added, you can actually either heal all the negativity and it goes away that way, or you can repel negative energy. You can also draw in good energy that way.
I worry about people saging and not doing anything else.
Because
that's good.
All that does is weaken it. And then imagine if you were weakened but they didn't actually banish you, then you'd be mad. When you got your power back, you'd be twice as angry.
Yeah.
I would be anyway. So it looks like you have drawn the card called The Child. And it's really beautiful. There is a maiden there, and she has a feather in her hair. The colors they're autumn colors. They're warm. They're really beautiful. The phases of the moon stand behind her. I see a flower, and she's wearing beads. And it's just a beautiful, beautiful card. What else do you see?
Well, I see representations of the sun when I look really closely, too. I mean, it does have the moon, but there's also representations of the sun, and there's some feathers.
Oh, I see that, too.
The artwork in these cards is gorgeous. This deck has 3 readings for each card: the essence, the invitation, and the medicine. So if any of these feel like they resonate with you, it's probably because this is what you're meant to know. So the essence is, the child knows the way to joy and happiness. The child offers the return of a second innocence, a time born of wisdom and not of naivete. This card allows you to correct your course and offers you a second chance. It brings you the possibility of redemption and entering heaven while on earth. It's very positive for first card of this reading.
Who doesn't want that, to enter that time again, but this time with wisdom?
And imagine how much you would conquer if you knew what you know now as a child. The invitation. The child is here to release you from the habit of being yourself and to help you acquire a beginner's mind so that you can see life as if for the first time. Remain open to learning and discovery. Who is your spouse or partner today? Can you see them with fresh eyes? Who is looking back at you in the mirror this morning? Become a mystery unto yourself and reconnect with a sense of childlike wonder. Very awesome.
I like that. It almost sounds like you are invited to go back to the beginning to start your journey again.
So the medicine of this card says, the child comes to show you how you can correct the course of your life without being punished. Set yourself free from your conditioning for suffering. You were born unfettered and happy, and can be so again if you make the choice right now. The child will help you climb out of the hole you may have dug yourself into to recover your sense of play. That's beautiful.
That is beautiful. We hope that was helpful and beautiful for you as well. And thank you so much for listening. If you have any comments or you have any insights after listening to that card, please let us know. We would love to hear from you.
Yes, and if you have ideas for shows that you would also like to hear about the supernatural, go ahead and comment that down below as well. We're going to end this. I'm saying this now to create boundaries for Elle so she does not continue talking.
Thank you so much. We'll see you next time.
See you later.